Firstly, thanks for having me, Destination Think and Sunshine Coast Destination. It's awesome to be here. My name's Cory Gale, I'm from Tourism NT, and I've got a special friend with me today. This is Lockie. We did a bit of a crowdsourcing name on Twitter, and also thanks to White Travel Blog for putting it up on Facebook. We thought that would be a good name. Thinking about tone of the NT, our voice, we're known as a pretty quirky place with a lot of cruisy, casual people, but we've got a lot of class about us still. So he could be Lachlan when he's in Sydney, when he's sipping a glass of wine, having some barra, but he could also be Lockie to his mates when he's out getting around the NT and going fishing with the boys. So I think that's a really good start. This actually comes from one of our local influencers, Travel Outback Oz. They are fantastic, based in Alice Springs, and this guy has been through all of the waterholes and gorges in Alice Springs, but I'll get to him a little bit more in a moment. So let's go. All right, so just to start off today, I want to do a bit of a show of hands. We're going to look at the NT from a destination perspective. Who's been? Who's done the NT? Wow, you guys are amazing. You totally just threw my stats out of whack. That's awesome, because that was more than 50% of people in this room, which totally surprises me, which is great. So hats off to you. So you're probably going to know the answer to the next question. Got three options. How far is Uluru from Alice Springs? First option, 50 Ks. Hands up. Second option, 200 kilometres, hands up. Third option, 450 Ks. I'm guessing everyone knows the answer to that one. You guys are convinced. You should come and do my job. All right, so the NT, it's that spectacular place in the top middle part of the country. It's a beautiful sunburnt land that we live in. Famous for crocodiles, of course, Lockie here. Famous for that big rock, apparently. And it's also famous for extreme heat in the NT news. That's all apparently. So what we do, our job is to break down those barriers, of course, and make sure that more people go to the NT. We have only a 2.6% market share of the interstate holiday split in Australia. So that's very, very small. We have 6.8% of the international holiday market share. So you can imagine that the challenges are many, and we take them in our stride. So the reason why people don't do the NT, we don't know that, but we try and, of course, break all those barriers down. Apparently, it's too hot. Apparently, it's too far. Apparently, it's too dangerous. Apparently, it's too rough and there's not enough nice hotels. So the brand for the NT is very much based around getting us past those barriers. So do the NT, gone are the days of if you've never go, you never know. It's very much about time and creating a sense of urgency to travel now. We've actually got a really exciting new brand direction which is launching this Sunday, so keep an eye out for that, and you'll definitely see what I mean a bit more in that direction. So the NT isn't a place that you go, it's a place that you do. It does have spectacular, rugged, natural beauty. But you don't just go there and look at those spectacular vistas and take a photo. There's lots of things that you can actually do when you're there. And our direction is all about making sure that we get that message across and make sure that we increase that market share. And you guys have obviously all been convinced you've already done it. So we really focus on doing different and showing that there's more to the NT than just those passive landscapes, Uluru and Kakadu. We encourage people to do journeys, regional dispersal. That's what we all do in all of the organisations that we work at. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to flip your perception of the red centre upside down. So I'm not sure if all those people that raised their hands have been to Darwin or the centre, but if you haven't been to the red centre, you'll leave in the next 25 minutes with a completely different perspective of it as a result of this campaign. All right, so who's ready? Who's ready to do the NT, guys? End of the day, get some energy up, right? So to start off, all right, Alice Springs, choose your own adventure. This campaign, the Red Centre Way Hypermeet, it's based around a major media campaign that we had in the NT earlier this year. 4th of March to 3rd of April, you can see the campaign dates there. So Alice Springs, of course, it's the heart of the centre. It's the heart of Australia. It's Australia's most iconic outback town. So the primary objectives for the major campaign, of course, linking in with that campaign being the key to this activity, developing a relationship with our local Instagram community. We've got some really key influencers based in Alice that regularly get featured by Tourism Australia, 4 or 5 that we work with really closely. We want to build our reputation and we want to encourage great quality content. That's what we're all trying to do in social when we hold a campaign. The wider campaign aimed to raise awareness and preference of Alice Springs and the Alice Springs region for 3 to 5 day holidays. Also raise awareness of the Red Centre Way, which is the trip that you do between Alice Springs, Kings Canyon and Uluru. Fantastic road trip. Why Travel Blog listed in they're one of the best road trips in Australia, so they know what they're saying. And also showcase them as hotspots and key to the NT holiday offering. Also aiming to raise awareness of Kings Canyon, Katajuda and Uluru as icons to visit if you're coming to Alice Springs on a holiday. One of the things that our research shows is that Uluru gets about 270,000 visitors a year. It's a global icon, it's incredible, it's world-class, and the experiences that you have there, they mirror that. But only about 60% of people also include Alice Springs on their itinerary. So really trying to close that gap, and it's a real opportunity for us to actually make some ground in that area. Secondary, so do the icons. Westmax, Kings Canyon, Uluru, Katajuda. Get to Alice, that's your hub, that's your gateway. 3 hours from here, 3 hours from Perth, 2 hours from Darwin, 2 hours from Adelaide. It is close, it is easier to do than you think. Hit the town, so do attractions. There's great things to do in Alice Springs. It's got great cafes, there's nightlife, really good restaurants and food offerings. And also get out and about, do adventure. That's what we're all about in the NT, when you have an adventurous holiday and have a wicked time doing it. So overall, we really, really wanted to position Alice Springs as a destination in its own right. So of course, we aligned this with a major campaign. So this campaign, the Choose Your Own Adventure campaign, had a major media buy nationally. Our key target audience in the NT is 50 plus audience on the East Coast. So that's being very generic. Don't need to go into too much detail on that one, but just to give you a bit of an indication, that's who we try and hit. You might be thinking, well, why did you do an Instagram campaign? So here's some examples of the changing banners that we had and the YouTube display as well. So that's just a real touch on for that one. But the key to this talk today is how do we maximise that media buy? So we've got all of this stuff out in market. What are we going to do to make sure that we get those messages across? So what happened last year in August? The Hyperlapse app was released by Instagram. So our Hypermeet concept, that came about because of this really cool app. My executive director actually sent me a text on the morning. We were going on an outback ballooning ride. We were doing a familiar around the Red Centre, and he said, check out this new app, literally on the morning of the 26th of August. So of course I downloaded it, sussed it out, and I'd been following a couple of influencers that were posting time-lapse for a while. So it sparked a few things in my mind, and, oops, sorry, I'll just go back on that one. And I'll read you out the direct description of this app, which comes from the iTunes listing. So the Hyperlapse app from Instagram, it allows users to create amazing time-lapse videos. Using Instagram's in-house stabilization, Hyperlapse shoots polished time-lapse videos that were previously impossible without bulky tripods and expensive equipment. When you shoot a time-lapse video with Hyperlapse, your footage will be instantly stabilized to smooth out the bumps from the road and give it a cinematic feeling. Winning. How good does that sound, right? That's what we want. We want our content to look awesome. We want it to be really smooth, really engaging, really, really good. So we didn't use this app to shoot everything on the campaign, but the concept of getting hyperlapse and time-lapse is where it was born. So not only did we want to stay on trend, new app, we also had an organisational direction which is now embracing video more than we ever have. So we already have a huge YouTube presence, about 4 million views on the Tourism NT account, 500 or 600 videos. But last year, we embarked on a trade program to develop our video assets to essentially use them as tools as a virtual journeys so that we could have travel agents in Germany watching a video, piecing together an itinerary, walking around a room, looking at the hotel room, looking at the quality of the product that they're going to book for their visitors. So that was really, really important in guiding this direction moving forward to capture our brand of how to do the NT with video. So we know stills, they're fantastic and they deliver a big part of what we want on social, but this really, really is helping us get that cut through. Of course, Aaron just touched on this in his presentation, if anybody went to that, about how important video is becoming, with Facebook beginning to rival YouTube as a video content hub. Interestingly enough, Social Bakers, I'm not sure if anyone saw this data earlier in the year, they did an analysis of 4,500 brand pages on Facebook from October to February in 2005. Organic reach from video content yielded an average of 8.7% on Facebook compared to 3.7% on photo posts. So as consumers, that tells us that we want to see video content, right? And of course, Facebook wants to send it to us, but we all see those videos come up every day and we share them with our friends. So this campaign, while being Instagram-centric, which hits that younger demographic, which is our secondary audience, it allowed us to capitalise on a trend and also share content across multiple platforms, YouTube and Facebook, further hitting our target audience. Alrighty, sorry guys, look back there. Select the right influencers. That's the big one that we considered when we were looking at who we're going to pick for this campaign. So the key considerations there, what do we need? We need time-lapse content. Who's doing it in Australia right now? Okay, so we narrowed down a key selection of Instagrammers to look at there. Is there a technical skill that you require? Do you have specific media targets? We've got another campaign coming up where we're pitching out certain content, and we know that that content is going to be pitched to a particular publication. So you need to be able to get that content and get the right influencer. So who we picked, we've got Matt Glastonbury and Mia Glastonbury. Also Matthew Vanderpoot. They were identified as the influencers specialising in getting this niche content for us. In addition to this, we had the wonderful Craig and Kaz Makepeace in Alice Springs on an additional campaign, which was a separate campaign, but the two overlapped, so they partook in the Hypermeet launch activity as well. Other key considerations, capturing assets that can be leveraged across multiple platforms. So I just touched on that. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, bang. We don't just want to get content for Instagram. We want to share it, make use of those assets. We're spending money on it. We've got to get an ROI. We also wanted to curate engaging and shareable content that aligns with Do the NT and Choose Your Own Adventure campaign. So you might wonder why I've got a crocodile. We don't have crocodiles in the Red Centre. That's why it's an inflatable crocodile. We want to break down those barriers. People think that you go swimming in the Red Centre, there might be a croc. This time of year, it's about -2. These guys don't like cold weather. So those barriers, we really, really need to work on breaking down to get a bigger market share and a bigger slice of the pie. We know that astrophotography consistently performs as the top most engaged content on our platform. We also know that it was deliberately, this activity would be tied in with conditions that would be the best for us to capture the clear night skies and potentially see some other phenomenon as well, like the aurora australis. So spectacular outback sunrise and sunset pics, they're also highly sought after by our audience. And the challenge is aligning this, of course, with the active experiences that can be had by the everyday visitor, not just showing a photo or a sunset time-lapse of a place that you can't get to or a place that you can't do. We also knew we had to select the right operators. We wanted to work with operators that had an Instagram presence. They were actively using the platform. They were going to engage, they were going to share, and more importantly, there's your conversion element. You really, really need to keep that in mind because conversion, that's what we're always getting grilled at. At any DMO, you've got to deliver that ROI and you want to get bums on seats down the track. And lastly, leveraging key partnerships. I've got it last because I think it's the most important thing that we do in social. To get shareable content, to get it shared, I should say, you need to have partners and you need to work with them, whether that be traditional media or whether that be from an LTO up to your RTO level, up to your STO, and for us, even higher, up to Tourism Australia. So actually really nailing that brief before the campaign, giving them an idea of what we're doing, and really making sure that they're going to be on board and they're going to want to share our story as well. All right, over to the pointer here. This is just a brief map for you. We've got Alice Springs up here. We started in Alice, as I said, it's a gateway to the Red Centre. The whole campaign was based around choosing your own adventure, starting in Alice Springs and working your way through the West MacDonnell Ranges. There's mountains in the NT, there you go. Down through to Kings Canyon and onto Uluru. So really breaking down that barrier. A couple of nights in Uluru to finish up after having spent one in Alice, one in the West MacDonnell Ranges and one in Kings Canyon. So really getting that journey across that regional dispersal to tick the boxes for what we're trying to achieve. So to kickstart things, all right, we started with a Hypermeet as our public component of the event, where we made it open to certain members of the community. It was an invite-only public Instameet, so in a way it wasn't really 100% public, but we did select our local influencers that had been curating content for us for almost a year. And we really wanted to make sure that they were going to be able to be involved as a bit of a thank you to them, and to sort of give them some guidance on what we're looking for, what kind of content we know our partners are looking for, and to meet the influencers. Want to engage the media, so we had some local media, of course, And we wanted to bring Alice Springs to the town centre's most iconic location, which is Anzac Hill. If you've been to Alice, you would have gone up to the top of that lookout, looked over the town and gone, it's so much bigger than I ever thought it was. And it's surrounded by mountains. So hitting the town, bringing that key content pillar for the Choose Your Own Adventure campaign into Alice was the real driver behind this. So it was a welcome to the Outback event and aiming to build our community of core influencers who have helped build NT Australia's asset library from 7,000 to 58,000 in just over a year. And I must say, we recently passed the century milestone and we've gone from 7,000 followers to 104,000 in 14 months, purely by having a more active strategy on Instagram and hosting activities such as this. All right, so over to what's the makings of a party. We need to, if you're having a party, what do you want? You want to have a bit of entertainment, right? So we incorporated some local talent. We got Andrew Langford from Sounds of Starlight to come up. He has this amazing gallery right on the heart of the Todd Mall, which is running right through Alice Springs. And he actually plays a didgeridoo, as you can see, and he has 2 or 3 nights a week where he does this incredible show with drums, percussion instruments, and it's out of control, crazy lights, smoke, it's really, really cool. So we got him to come up, he provided the tunes. So if you're ever organising a party, you've got to have some food. So we've got some Restaurant Australia content coming through here, some dukkha crusted kangaroo with watermelon and feta, some lemon myrtle chicken skewers with lemon myrtle aioli, some really bush-inspired local flavours to add that element to our social gathering. We're trying to make it social, we're trying to make it different, and we're trying to have a party on the hill, right? And that also gives us an idea of how we can leverage content through the existing Tourism Australia campaign for Restaurant Australia. So constantly thinking of those things in the back of our mind. Entertainment. If you're having a party or a gathering, you've got to have entertainment. So we brought the wildlife in. So we've got Digger the dingo here from Alice Springs Desert Park. So you could have some wildlife encounters up on this place in the middle of Australia's most iconic town. How cool is that? So I had all of these tour companies coming through. There would have been about 80 to 100 people up there that weren't even involved, and they were just like, what's going on here? And this one is particularly for Sherelle, the dingo selfie. We've seen that one going around on Twitter. I was saying if you come to the NT, you can get your selfie with a dingo. So this is Digger giving Matthew Vanderpoot, one of our influencers, a bit of a kiss on the ear there. Sonder, the wedge-tailed eagle. So we've got all of these wildlife just coming in, all at different times so that they didn't attack each other. And Sonder is named after one of the local mountains in the West MacDonnell Ranges. And all of these experiences are available at the Alice Springs Desert Park. And I was going to call this Woma Python Wilma, but I didn't know its name, so we just call it a Woma Python. But that was the final immersive, hands-on experience that shows you there is a lot to do and experience at the NT. Such a cool destination. There is so much happening. So we're really, really driving that home. Fourth component, if you're having a party, having your friends around, you want to have some fun, right? So that's what we do. We're working in social media. You need to keep that front of mind whenever you're having a campaign. If you're out for 5 days with a group of influencers or any media, you want to have a good relationship, good rapport. It improves the content, it improves the output, and it improves the results. So at the end of the day, it is a return on investment with lots of money. Depending on the content that we're going to get, you're really trying to drive results, but this has a big impact on what you do by having a good time. Just show you a bit of a snippet of the content that we captured. So enjoy. Pretty good, right? Who wants to go there? Everyone? Yeah, right. So as you can see, we actually used a really organic feel in that we didn't have any brand direction at all, in that video. That was Matt, and that was his video. We wanted to come across authentic. We didn't want to have it splashed with do the NT and our call to action and all of that sort of stuff. So it's quite a candid holiday highlights reel at the start with the graphics that he's used. But you will notice throughout there's a caption on the bottom which tells you how far it is from Alice Springs. So really hitting that messaging and that proximity to our key destination home in every single slide. So some amazing content. The guys did such a good job, and we're really, really stoked, and it was a lot of fun. So some results. This is the important bit. So overall, on Instagram, we shared the content through the 3 influencers platforms. We shared the content through our own platforms for an entire week. We embraced that content, we lived and we breathed it. We wanted to make sure that it got the cut through that it needed, not just featuring 1 or 2 photos and forgetting about this major investment and huge campaign for our organisation. The combined engagements from influencers, Tourism NT and TA was over 500,000. So of course, that's some really, really significant engagements and conversations happening about our destination. On the posts or the photos that were posted by our influencers, it was 13.1% more engagement than the usual content generated. So that's a really, really important number to show the value of getting an influencer to your destination and the quality of the content that they produce. The value of the video was a lot less. We knew that video on our platform was going to be a new medium to digest, and we knew that it wouldn't go as well, and that's a consistent trend on Instagram posts with video that we've noticed. It was 14.4% less, but still a really key learning. The big thing that was massive for us, Uluru and Alice Springs, they rank, the destination awareness for those is high, and we know that through research that we do at Tourism NT. But other local destinations, like the West MacDonnell Ranges, perhaps Kings Canyon as being near Uluru and Alice, they don't rank as high. The top 10 performing posts from this campaign were not Uluru. Uluru was the 11th ranked top performing post. So that said to us, wicked, we've ticked a big box there. We've really, really successfully educated our audience about different experiences other than Uluru. Video views, YouTube and Facebook. Total views, 62,000. 28,000 of those was from spend through YouTube and Outbrain. So just under 40,000 from organic. That's a pretty awesome result as well. And we're really starting to hit a cut through of our target audience there, because that YouTube spend was targeted to the people that we wanted to be seeing that are 55 plus. And again on Facebook, 46,500 views posted organically on our timeline. Total reach on Facebook posts was almost 200,000. So some really, really strong numbers there. Leveraging over to traditional media. So coverage in Australian Geographic. The Aurora Australis, you may have all heard about it 5 months ago when it was shown at Uluru. We didn't get that content. There was someone else down there that beat us to that, and we were at Ormiston Gorge. But we did get the content pushed out through Australian Geographic. Total Travel, Yahoo 7, massive reach across Australia, image galleries through them. And as I touched on before, TA, do not underestimate the value of your partnerships with your STO, your RTO, and of course these guys. They're a powerhouse in social media tourism. And as I touched on before, don't be afraid to share your content. We made sure that we really, really pushed that content hard. Our Instagram account, as you can see here, every second post was a time-lapse clip, and every other post was a photo. So the requirement was 2 time-lapse posts a day, which is really quite a challenge to produce. They take a lot of work. It is a niche art. And editing, of course, is difficult for influencers as well when they're on the road. But these guys did a great job. We shared that content on multiple platforms. Do not keep it a secret. That's a massive, massive message I'd really love everyone to take home today. Capture your content and share it with the world. Tell everyone about it. Scream it from the rooftop. So yeah, as I said, our account was solely about the Red Centreway Hypermeet content for an entire week. Integrating with the hard work that we were doing in market with campaign and media partners to drive that conversion component. So just integrating it all across. We're still pushing out content to our platforms from this activity, and it was 5 months ago. The total activity cost $35,000, so the return on investment was really, really significant. Key learnings, the best part. All right, back one. This is the bit that we all love. Massive key learning for us was using different locations to get different content on the same activity. So very often you have an Instameet and you get 5 or 6 influencers, or 20, depending on where you are, or however many, and they're all at one location getting a very similar shot. So it's really hard to differentiate that content and leverage it and use it. You use it once and you might not be able to use the other 6 shots. So we had Matthew on the top of the rim walk, which is about a 500-metre climb. And then we had Matthew Glastonbury, a lot of Matthews, and his wife down on the bottom of the rim walk, where there's a viewing platform, completely different experience and accessibility, but 2 different messages which can hopefully convert to an extra night's stay. Big tick, that's what we want. So there's different locations, get you different content. Dedication and connectivity. I cannot stress enough just how good these guys were at just pulling this content together. We got up at 1:30 in the morning pretty much every day for 4 days, and finished shooting at about 9 o'clock every night with travel and editing and a quick nap in the middle of the day between that. So this shot was taken at about 3:30 in the morning. My colleague Patrice, who I hope got to see some periscope of this, who I wish was here as well, she was an absolute trooper. It was her first week. We were laying on the rocks on the top of Kings Canyon Rim Walk, looking at stars, just going, how cool is this? This is our job. Counting shooting stars, using a pillow, using a rock as a pillow. Might not sound great to some people, but we loved it. And yeah, the dedication that these guys had was just incredible. Sorry, I'll go back to that one. The connectivity, we did have some issues. It's an influencer campaign. You want to be able to get your content up as quick as possible. We were aware that we would have some issues in some locations, but we took the risk and went, that's okay if we're offline for 36 hours. We need the content because the objectives for the campaign are more important than getting posts out today. Plus we could use Schedugram to schedule a couple. And we did have some issues. We ended up being offline for almost 48 hours because there was Wi-Fi issues at one of the locations. But you work around it. Unpredictable weather. Don't we love this one? We had rain on our final night at Uluru. What the? It's March, like seriously. And that really was frustrating because we were there to get astrophotography. Uluru is the hero. It's got this amazing, night sky with stargazing experiences, starlit dinners, etc. And unfortunately, we couldn't do that. But luckily, we had 2 nights there. So we were there the day before. We didn't get all of the content we wanted, but we still got some star content. Make sure you include site recce's in your itinerary. So in between those 1:30 a.m. starts, so you start shooting stars, and then sunrise, in the afternoons, we'd always make sure we went to the next sunset location and sunrise location to make sure we had an idea of where the light was going to hit. The influencers would often correct the itinerary and go, actually, we think it's going to be better here, so let's switch that over. Pack influencer survival kits. You don't want grumpy influencers, you don't want an unwell influencer. You want really good content. So if it's really hot, you've got to make sure you've got an esky full of water. You've got to make sure you've got some sugar, you've got some lollies. It was 43 degrees on this day. Then a storm came through and we had a 2-hour rainbow. So pretty much worked out perfectly. But one of our influencers was getting really dehydrated. You need to make sure that you're constantly looking after influencers and being their friend and also being their colleague to make sure you get good results. Be flexible. Your itinerary will change. You will get bad weather. Someone will leave their bag behind and you might have to drive back and get it. There's all sorts of things that are going to happen and did happen on this itinerary. But that's life, and we work with it and we make adjustments to not being online for 2 days and rolling content out through the campaign, extending it by 3 or 4 days. We just tweak those along the way. And I just wanted to finish up with one last video, guys, so enjoy. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Cory, for a great presentation. And since you're that good at naming things, maybe you can finally solve the big puzzle. I've seen a lot of names being suggested for me, but I don't want to leave today, and I don't want to leave Sunshine Coast with 4 potential names. So I want to ask you to decide which one it's going to be.
I reckon it's got to be Shalza. That's
Yeah?
what I was thinking the other day.
Yeah?
That was my suggestion on Twitter, Shalza.
We're going to stick with that one.
CHARLZA. There you go.
That's going to be perfect. Because I ended last night with the nickname Bogan, and I guess I'm happy that I'm getting a new one. Although Bogan,
if you went with Shazza, that's Sharon in Australia, and that's a really common short name.
So one of the things you mentioned, which really sticks out to me, is that there are no brand guidelines, when you do these kind of Instameets, Hypermeets. So what did it take for you in your organization to make sure that there are no brand guidelines? Because sometimes it's tough to stop people from giving them.
So you mean no brand guidelines, or we do have brand guidelines?
No brand guidelines. So when you want to do social media, don't overly sort of influence people in what you want your brand to be, set people free.
Oh, yeah, and that's the thing. You have to work with the influencers and their brand. You have to meet in the middle, because of course you do have your campaign requirements, which you need to tick boxes off for your objectives, your key messaging, but ultimately you can't tell an influencer what they need to caption and what they need to capture. So we always work really closely with influencers in the itinerary development process, just to make sure we're all on the same page, and that itinerary experience is going to work with the content that they regularly post. And if their audience is going to go Barley's, no way, unfollow, then we won't hold them above that. But we do provide key messaging, which is something that I didn't quite get to. I was over time by 45 seconds. But we always provide a key messaging brief to influencers when we do a campaign, and they're suggested key messages. It's trying to get your message across, and you can't always guarantee that's going to happen on every post, and that's not realistic either.
Right.
But you can ask. Simon said it yesterday, don't ask, don't get. So you've got to ask.
Okay, good. So what if you haven't done any Instameets or anything like that? What would be your suggestion to start off with if you want to do one of those?
If you wanted to do an Instameet, I think the best message I would love people to take away from today is to make sure that it's aligning with something else that's happening in your organisation. So an existing campaign, whether that be, at our level, we've got media campaigns happening all the time in the market with, big spend. So understandably at LTO or smaller operator level, you can't necessarily do that, but something seasonal, it might be the launch of whale watching season or the launch of summer festival season. But it has to be aligned with an activity, especially if you're only doing 1 or 2 a year. Otherwise, you don't get the cut through.
Now maybe a slightly difficult question is that obviously we're using a lot of social media channels. You're using a lot of social media channels. But I think a lot of people that work in the tourism business don't have a lot of time to do all these channels. If you could choose only one, and if you're a destination and you want to market yourself, which one would you choose that's out there in the market?
It's a really, really good question, and we have this discussion in the office, and we do have a couple of differing opinions. Personally, from the, I think from the engagement that we get, I would have to go with Instagram. I know that'll make a couple of people in the room very happy, Lauren, and perhaps some other influencer friends. But we generate over 10,000 engagements a day in likes and comments on Instagram posts, and we really tell that story for us as a brand to do the NT and break down the barriers about how much there is to see and do. It allows us to do that more so than posting once a day on Facebook and getting a reach of between 20 and 100,000. So I'd go with Instagram.
Clear answer. Any questions from the audience?
I thought I'd kick us off this afternoon. Hi everyone, hope you're all having a fab day. Great prez, Cory. I just wanted to go back to your stats for a second. Facebook reach, I assume you just kind of pull that data out of the insights.
What was that, sorry?
The Facebook data that you had, you pull that out of insights?
So I went through and tabulated the views on every individual post that had been published.
So in that case then, that's not unique users, that's number of views?
Yes.
That's how you define your reach as opposed to...
On those videos, there's probably about 9 videos that have been posted on our timeline. And that total, I think it was about 48,000 Yeah, not quite sure. Total views on those videos on Facebook.
Yep.
And on YouTube, it was about 66,000, which a percentage was from spend.
Yep.
Yeah,
the other question I had was, with your Instagram stats, how did you go about getting those?
Again, manual. I love my data entry. Going through and looking at the posts from individual influencers.
So do you use like Iconosquare, or what tool did you use? Sorry, I should be more specific.
And you should also get a campaign report from influencers as well. I noticed Lauren yesterday did mention that she always provides a campaign report for any activity that she does, which will total up the total engagements and impressions from a campaign, and also the top performing posts for you. We like to keep that obviously on file internally across all influencers, and we also got that data from the TA posts that were done as well. Yeah. I think there was 4 or 5 Instagram posts done by TA during the campaign.
Thanks, that's all I had.
No worries.
Wait, one last question in the back.
Hi, Cory.
Howdy.
That sounds really loud. I actually have a question from Lots of Fresh Air on Periscope. So I've been scoping.
Hi, Caro. How you going?
And Tourism NT have been watching. They're very excited. They wanted me to pass that message on too. But Lots of Fresh Air asks, and she wants to know, what's one thing that you would tell an influencer, working with an influencer, I guess, in ways that they could help you more?
That's a really, really good question, and I think there are a lot of barriers in. It's still a new medium. There's still a lot of gaps in our knowledge, I think, in the expectations that influencers have and the expectations that we have. So it really is a meeting of the minds and being transparent, being honest up front about what you want out of the campaign, because I think the deliverables sometimes don't always match up, and if you haven't had that conversation, then you're going to, unfortunately, probably miss out on some of the things you hope to get out of the campaign. So yeah, I think that we have a little bit of a way to go in that space, actually, in educating each other about what we're both trying to get out of a campaign and what's expected.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Cory, for this presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.